Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about NES Remix, as you can see by the TV or whatever. Pretty much these games were released during the Wii U era, and I believe it had a port on the 3DS. I never got the port though. So you can see right here I have the one for the Wii U. It's the pack that has the first and the second. My dad bought it for me because I bought Halo 5, and then it turns out he didn't want me playing that, so he took the game away, and then he went and bought me this and gave it to me, kind of like, since I spent my own money on Halo 5. But now I have both of them, so yeah, we got Halo 5 and that. But they came out 2013 to 2015, I believe. And pretty much, this was during the time, kind of like the dark age of Nintendo is what you call it, like Scott the Woz. I don't know if y'all watch him, probably don't, but he calls this age the dark age of Nintendo, which was pretty much the Wii U era and 3DS era until we went into the Switch era, which is when Nintendo, pretty much what they did was both their systems, the 3DS was a sequel to the DS, the Wii U was a sequel to the Wii. They weren't kind of like original systems whatsoever. And so they kind of, like, a lot of people didn't really buy the system because they kind of were like, why do I need that if I have a Wii already or if I have a DS already? Unless you're like a real hardcore fan like me, which I bought, or I didn't buy them, but I got the Wii U for Christmas, and then I bought the 2DS. But pretty much, a lot of the games were not up to par. The quality was not that great. They weren't very different than games you would see on the Wii. Like, they had Mario Bros on there, like a 2D Mario where you jump around. It literally was just the Wii one though, but in HD. Now all the levels and stuff were different. There's new features, there's an Acorn power-up. But to the average consumer, it did not look any different whatsoever. So, you know, average consumer's not gonna go out and buy that when they're like, I have Mario at home already, I just play that, it costs me no money. Because to them it all looks the same, unless you're a real fan who pays attention to all the little differences and stuff. So, you know, it didn't really attract the same kind of group they were trying to attract. They attracted with the Wii, the casuals. It clearly only got Nintendo's hardcore fans, and then most people who just bought systems were not going to go for the Wii U because it was underpowered. So, like, the only people this system was for, pretty much, was Nintendo fans. And even then, that wasn't even targeted at them specifically, but they're the ones who bought it and got it, like me. So, anyways, with that, they were like, okay, well, we gotta, as we're making this system, we gotta keep having stuff to fund the system we're making, aka the Switch, because this was 2 to 3 years before the Switch came out, and they're still in development of it because the Switch was originally going to be a handheld, and they decided, hey, we gotta make this a console too because we're kind of screwing things over with the Wii U. So they're like, okay, let's think of a game that we can make real quick, real cheap, real easy, not a lot of game development behind it. And so what they did pretty much was they released 2 NES remixes. And basically what this game was all they had to do, they emulate the NES games, which were kind of already on there because of the Wii U Virtual Shop or eShop, Virtual Console Store, which they don't have on the Switch nowadays. You have to buy the membership, but they pretty much took them, added challenges. So it's like, hey, do this in this amount of time, or hey, get this in this game, or hey, do that in this game. And you just try to do the challenges and complete the game, and you would earn like badges and stuff, which you could put on Miiverse. Rest in peace, Miiverse. But you could pretty much put it on Miiverse and all this other stuff. Essentially, it was like just a bunch of mini games, like a mini game collection, pretty much. And so they were really quick to develop, pretty cheap. So they made one and they made a second, and these did phenomenal. You had these sold like wildfire. That's why it's on the Nintendo Selects, which was like a thing where it was like, hey, these are the best selling games on blank system right now. Switch doesn't have Nintendo Selects. I don't know why. I wish it did, but it doesn't. It's whatever. I don't care though. So this sold amazingly. It pretty much would. So they made the first one, right, and it had stuff like, I think the first one had just like the original Mario, the original Zelda, Donkey Kong, pretty much just all the original games on the NES, like the black box games. If you know what the black box games are, it was pretty much just ones that looked like the actual art style of the game. So they pretty much got those first ones and they made them, and they sold amazingly. So then they took a year, made a second one, and they did to like with more like sequels. Like they put Kirby in there, they put the second Zelda on the NES, Zelda 2, they put Metroid on there, they put Mario 3, and they also put Mario 2 on there, and just pretty much a bunch of games. Dr. Mario 2, even Wario Woods, which was kind of surprising in my opinion. But they put these games on there pretty much, and so pretty much what you do in the game, like I just said, you just pretty much play the NES games but do challenges. And each one's like a little level, and pretty much you just complete it. But a lot of people ate them up, and it was like enough to, like, it took me a couple months to beat them all. It took you a good while, and that was me playing a lot. So it was pretty much why they made this. And then later on, near the end of the Wii U's thing, they kind of need some more money, I guess. I don't know, they got to keep putting stuff out, but when a console's about to come out, they're like, what are we supposed to like, put out if there's like no, if the console's about to come out. Like, they don't want to put any big like blockbuster game out, because then that could take sales away from their console or whatever. So they ported to the 3DS as well, and I think it was just the first one they ported to the 3DS, but pretty much you can play it on there as well and play it on the go. And since then, they just kind of haven't done anything with it. A lot of people wanted them to do like a Super Nintendo remix, but the thing is, Nintendo's kind of in a spot right now where it's like, hey, we don't need to release something like this because our Switch is thriving. It's done better than the Wii, and their next system is probably going to sell amazingly too. Like, I'm probably going to buy that when it comes out. Now, here is something. They have this, they did release this game called Nintendo World Championships, and I have it, so let me grab it real quick. But pretty much, Nintendo World Championships is kind of like the unofficial sequel of NES Remix on the Wii U. This one, so if y'all know, back in the 80s, they had a championship. Nintendo had like World Championships where it was pretty much, what are you supposed to do? It's like Mario, Zelda. Those were the only games out at the time, because this was during the NES era. But it also has a really cool look inside to it. But pretty much they were like, let's just do a championship. And pretty much what it was like, hey, who can do this the fastest? Like, who can beat Mario 3 the fastest? Or who can jump on that Goomba the fastest? Who can do this the fastest? Like, little things like that. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't like how like a tournament would be now or whatever, where it's like, compete with each other like a gun game or whatever, like an online competitive game. It was just like they have all these systems next to each other, whoever could do it the fastest. So what they did was they pretty much took like almost every game in the NES, like 13 NES games. They took 13, so not every game, my bad. But they had like 150 challenges pretty much on this thing. So they pretty much did that, where it was as if you were doing what they would do back then, where it was like you were playing these games, do this in this amount of seconds, do this in this amount of seconds. Like, pretty much the same exact challenges as the people did back in the 80s for the World Championship. And so pretty much it was just like, it's like the NES games, pretty much like this. And that's why these are so similar, because it's like you're going back and playing the NES games, and you're going back and playing the NES games, but it's not like playing the NES games, you're just doing little challenges on it. But this one you get timed on. That's like the only difference. So this pretty much has been like the sequel to it, I would say. It's not really officially a sequel, but it pretty much is. It's very similar. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's like the story of the NES Remix games and why they were made and like what there was to do in it. And yeah, they're pretty fun, I will say. And one of my favorite games on the Wii U. And I have a lot of Wii U games. So yeah, thank y'all for watching.